Hello, it's Rhea. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, I hope you are enjoying yourself. So it feels like I'm always trying to balance digital art versus like traditional art, and I always end up like leaning towards one side more than the other, like a seesaw or something. That said, today you can see I've chosen my iPad, so I will be doing digital art and just kind of having like a fun doodle session. And it's funny because I say fun doodle session, but low-key, I was literally drawing this all throughout the day. Like, I took breaks and stuff here and there, but it was kind of like close to midnight by the time I was finally done with it, I think. And it's not like I was spending all of my time and effort on this. I was kind of just like doodling it very like casually, but just really having fun with it. And the theme this time around is actually kind of funny because I'm honestly never sure if I should do a video for my birthday or not because it feels odd. And honestly at this point, birthdays in general, the entire experience to me feels odd. I didn't really feel like updating my Meet the Artist for this either because I feel like the last one that I did was in 2022, so that's more or less still valid to reference. But then I had like this cute silly little idea of drawing little chibi versions of me based off of different styles that I've had throughout the years. And I actually had this idea last year, but all of 2023 I was like hustling through full-time job work and I didn't really have the time or energy for like more than the bare minimum, so I let the idea like fade in the wind until now. That said, 5 eras for 25 years sounds so much catchier than 26, but nonetheless, I'll be drawing a few phases or eras that I've had throughout my life so far. And it's definitely not going to be all of them because I've had some pretty interesting looks that I don't show, but I feel like these 5 kind of cover the main ones. I would say the fun in this for me comes from it being related to like visual aesthetics on top of like just fashion, so to speak. But on top of drawing chibis, of course, because I still feel like I'm trying to grasp how I want to draw them. But this turned out surprisingly helpful for that too, because each style will change from chibi to chibi, both literally because of like the different aesthetic, but also art style wise, which is something that I decided as I went along, just kind of winging it, but it turned out super fun. Also, I will show a time lapse at the end, but I did cut out like the whole sketching portion of this because I felt like I already filmed too much in this session to film like this entire session. I think the total run time for it was somewhere around like 2 hours and 40 minutes, I don't know, something like that, and obviously like I'm trying to condense that down for a much more watchable video. So yes, we have sped up footage in some parts. I think I will slow it down whenever we get to the rendering, so to speak. It's very like light, playful rendering because again, this entire spread is very like lax, like I'm just chilling the entire time. But yeah, there's a lot of ground to cover on terms of film, so I'm definitely speeding up this part of me just sort of simply having cleaner lines. Sorry that I don't really like, because I don't film my iPad sessions enough, they probably change each time I do a video of them. Like, filming on my iPad and display tablet is different than when I film traditional art because instead of the camera being like on the opposite side of me and like upside down, it's suddenly over my shoulder. So it feels like it's breathing down my neck and I'm like awkwardly drawing with this piece of metal technology entangled into me and I'm just like, ah! Like I literally have to put my left hand or like my arm through the tripod legs just so that way I can like somewhat draw comfortably, and it definitely still feels weird, but I try to just ignore it for the sake of filming because woohoo, content, right? But yeah, I'm still kind of getting used to it, and I also hope that like the sped up footage of this isn't too jarring. I feel like it's fine, like it's digestible, but I generally try not to speed things up too much whenever it comes to like digital art or tablets for some reason, or just really in general if I can avoid it. But in this case, whenever I have so much footage filmed, there's definitely some parts that I don't need to show in real time. Often I will take the approach of either sticking with real time or like a speed closer to real time, but cutting it up into chunks where I remove parts where I feel like just aren't as interesting whenever I draw, versus what you're seeing right now where it's like I mostly keep everything in, but I just speed up the footage like crazy. So you kind of see like a little bit more into the process, but I don't know, there's some things of even whenever it's sped up, I'm like, should I have cut that out? Like who wants to see me redraw the same thing over and over again? And some parts I try to like cut it out if it's like I'm just making the same mistake and erasing and going back and forth, but I don't know, sometimes I get like lazy, and I'm like, whatever, they can just see me struggle. I also have the everlasting habit of being like hella zoomed out whenever I draw because that's just what I like, I guess. Honestly, it helps me cover more areas with shorter brushstrokes, so it kind of makes sense, but I could see how that might be like unsatisfying to watch if you're someone who prefers things more like zoomed in, you know? I do try to zoom in whenever I remember that for you guys, but old habits die hard, I guess. So let me know if like this filming type of style vibe works for you guys to watch. I was kind of considering doing like a screen recording instead. Like halfway through I kind of felt like, oh, this probably would have looked more appealing if I just screen recorded it, since my iPad should be more than capable of doing something like that. So let me know if you'd like to see that type of approach instead. I definitely want to try it out, kind of like a screen recording, either speed paint, or I could do kind of like a real time, almost like I'm streaming or something, so I don't know. Now that I talked about boring filming stuff, let's talk about the actual drawing process and things like that. So as I said, I omitted the sketch, but putting this together, I was trying to play around with like different brushes because right now in Procreate, I feel like I'm kind of in a rough spot with what kind of brushes that I want to use. But I mean, right now, like in this like spread, I wasn't really trying to like pick something super profound that I was going to use every single day and love. I wanted something that would be fun to play around with. Also, similarly to how I operate in Clip Studio Paint with all the brushes that you can download there, whenever I do see people advertising like a free brush set on Procreate, like online somewhere, usually Twitter, I'm like, oh, heck yeah, okay, sure, I'll go for that. So working on the sketch, I think I was using one of the brushes from, I think is it Olguioo, their starter pack brush set. I had downloaded that like a couple months back and I never really like played around with it as much, but so it was a really fun time like working on at least just like the sketch with that. And then for the line art, I wanted something really specific. I was kind of being annoying with it because it's like at the beginning you probably saw I was like trying out different like brushes because I couldn't really figure out what it was that I was looking for. I wanted something like that had texture, but it was still like clean enough to come off as line art, or at least like with how I used it. I wanted it to be a little bit more firm. I believe I ended up using the Jingsketch fountain pen because I really like the texture on that. Something about brushes like that, like the Narender pencil, which is like default in Procreate, where it has like that texture that you kind of associate with traditional art. I feel like it's very fun to use. Like it adds a sense of character essentially whenever I use it, and it's kind of the same with any like traditional based brushes. I find like I really enjoy them for that look, and since I was kind of playing around this time, I felt like that really sealed the aesthetic that I was going for. And speaking of aesthetics, I think it's time that we talk about the different phases that my visuals went through. Predominantly within like the past 12 to 15 years, which honestly saying that out loud right now makes me feel kind of prehistoric, especially considering like some of y'all are like literally that age right now, oh god. But speaking of, we start out with the top chibi on the left, and I decided to call that tweencore because I truly have no idea what else to call it. I don't really want to use the term Y2K because I feel like I would have been a bit too young to fully engage in that. Like early 2000s, I was just a tiny little mini girl. Like I wasn't busting out in shopping malls and like low-rise jeans and big sunglasses like I'm a Bratz doll or something. But this aesthetic was like, y'all remember when Justice for Girls and then like Claire's were like at their peak? Because that's what I'm talking about. Like back whenever Hot Topic was like, it was actually for goths and then also played music that had my very protective holy parents trying to remove me from there. It was around like age 11 or 12, definitely middle school, when I remember going shopping and getting like multiple shirts that had like this frilled skirt-like end attached to it, and I would wear either skinny jeans or leggings under them. I also remember getting like the typical black high top Converse because it was such an iconic shoe for the time. So that outfit that I end up putting on, by the way, yes, all these outfits that I draw are outfits that I've actually worn. It's how I was actually looking, and yeah, I remember I would always wear that out on the weekends. I was so excited. I don't know, it just gave like rocker chick energy, and I also wore like animal print at the time. I would never touch animal print now. Like I don't know why, I just can't. But at the time I was like zebra, tiger, leopards, rawr, let's go. I don't know. But being a tween was like whenever you first got introduced to non-elementary concepts because puberty hits you and then you're like, oh my gosh, and the world feels really odd at that point. At this point too, I had an iPod Touch, so I had some way to access the internet outside of my phone, which was probably either like a flip phone or one of those like sidekick type situations. Y'all remember those? I also remember I had a Razor at some point and it was red and I just thought it was like so cool. Next one is gonna sound interesting, but I don't know what else to classify it as. I know some people think of emo as like an all black aesthetic all the time and you're sad and quiet, but like if that were the case, then sometimes even now I might be considered emo and like that's crazy. No, but anyways, emo and punk kind of like intermixed for me. Like I took influence from whatever was around me that piqued my interest. So like my brothers, both older than me, liked a lot of rock music, so I in turn also liked it. And then my older cousin loved like the Hot Topic MySpace aesthetic, so I also took interest in that. Quick anecdote, I remember my mom found out my cousin helped me make a MySpace one time and she was so pissed off. Oh my gosh, I basically had to like delete my account right after, which looking back was probably fair if I was like in middle school because like I don't know if y'all really need social media like that. Like, parents should definitely monitor their kids and even like late teens because girl, especially in this day and age, like, oh my gosh. But anyways, yeah, I'm calling this emo because I remember I did take interest in the emo aesthetic, and even though I probably had other looks that fit the term emo better, I feel like there's a part of emo that's a little bit eccentric, or at least it was at the time. Like before jumping into scene, it wouldn't have been that crazy to spice up like the all black look with like a pink or red or like a black and white combo. Oftentimes I'd play dress up and like take many photos in my room, and I remember this specific look was so, oh my gosh, it was like so, I was feeling myself honestly, like with that look of the checkered shirt with the pink tie and then the fingerless gloves of course. And then I also had like these neon pink Converse. I don't know, I remember taking so many pictures of that look specifically and it felt ripped straight from Avril Lavigne, and that's probably why I loved it because like Avril Lavigne anything, I was like all over. Like the amount of her songs that I listened to and like her overall aesthetic, I was eating it up. But moving on to the third chibi, after emo of course has to come the iconic unhinged aesthetic of scene kids, which unfortunately I was very obsessed with that, even more than like the emo aesthetic. And I think it was like the whole concept of things being random and silly, which is like very much the core of my personality by default. So I was like, oh my gosh, it's so me. Like, I don't know, it was very animated and chaotic, and I guess I just felt really aligned to that at the time. I also remember I got extensions, and I don't think I wore them to school just yet, but I would take photos with them and like, I don't know, I would just always have fun playing with different aesthetics and doing like mini photo shoots in my room. If you're someone who didn't experience any of these like indie or like alternative aesthetics, you're probably thinking that I'm some kind of narcissist, but I am a Leo, so like that kind of might check out a little bit. But memes aside, it's funny because like these days I hardly take photos of myself. It's not like I feel ugly, but I'm kind of just like, girl, what's the point? Like I have too much to do, and that I don't know, something about that kind of makes me feel like that's sad. But yeah, going back to like the scene aesthetic, it was like the Invader Zim shirt, tons of wacky flashy accessories like studded belts, fingerless gloves, colorful streaks, the invention of skinny jeans. Oh my god, that saved my life because I freaking hate flare jeans with a passion, I swear. Like straight leg are okay, but skinny jeans just felt so much more fun. I don't know, I just feel like I had like little doll legs or something. I guess my legs are my biggest accessory. That's a weird thing to say, but whenever I think about all my aesthetics, and I think I just like legs in general because whenever I draw them, like I love to draw legs. I don't know why, I just, and what's funny is my legs are like, in proportion to my body, they're quite long, and yet somehow I'm still on the shorter side, so like, I don't know what that's about. But speaking of, the knee-high Converse, that was truly like one of the best trends to me at the time. I was so excited whenever I got them. Now that said, I kind of skipped some eras because I'm going from like middle school to like mid to late high school era, and I remember dyeing my hair a lot throughout high school, and my mom was so mad. But I did it anyways because I mean like it's not like it was always my hair, it was mostly just my extensions, and then every now and then I might have dyed my bangs. The main time I dyed my actual hair I think was whenever I dyed it like all red, and it wasn't like fire truck red or anything, but it was still pretty vibrant. I think my favorite look was whenever I had dyed it half red and half black, because I remember I felt like I looked so badass, and I remember being in the car with my mom one day and she just turned to me and she's like, you need to dye it back soon. And I was like, Okay, duh, I was gonna like do that anyways. Except I didn't say it like that at all because I have ethnic parents, and those of you who know, you can't just be saying whatever you want to them any kind of way. Also, another funny thing about dyeing my hair so much is that my school definitely had a dress code, like one of those formal strict dress codes. We didn't have uniforms, but we had a certain way we could look, and it was still on the stricter side, so I'm assuming I got away with it just because I was like a very chill student and always did whatever I needed to do, so they were kind of like, yeah, whatever, you can have like purple highlights or tips. But yeah, lots of phases that I don't end up showing or like drawing through Chibis. But the next one that I do draw was my pop punk Tumblr era, and oh gosh, what a detrimental time. Really and truly, with all these aesthetics, it can always feel a bit difficult to partake in as someone who's not white, but also not pale. I want to say it's gotten better over the years with like how black or even just sometimes like mid-light to dark-skinned people get to enjoy internet or worldwide aesthetics, if that makes sense. And that also goes for like pop culture spaces like cosplay and etc. But we're not getting into that right now. But if you know, you know. I've always enjoyed alternative or indie things simply because I've had exposure to it and I took a liking to it. I never felt like it had to define all of me, I just thought that it was fun, and music definitely had an influence on aesthetics and really lifestyle too, and it still does to this day. Like, take a look at like K-pop and how people dress for concerts now versus 10 years ago. But all that to say, I listened to a lot of post-hardcore bands at first, when I first started like high school and stuff like that. So I would listen to like Bring Me the Horizon and A Day to Remember. And then towards the end of high school, like maybe my sophomore, junior year, I had shifted over to like more pop punk energy type songs. Like I listened to bands like The Story So Far, The Wonder Years, Real Friends, Citizen, and Tumblr played a huge part in this because being exposed to a never-ending feed of all the content you could even be slightly interested in made it so easy to get into more and more of it. And the pop punk aesthetic was mostly just like a bunch of band merch, so a lot of band t-shirts, jean shorts, and Vans. Think kind of like Warped Tour. Oh my gosh, did y'all go to Warped Tour? I think I went like twice maybe. And the first time I got in, it was because I won a song remix competition thing. That was so crazy. Okay, anyways, I know I wore like beanies at some point too, so I included it in that chibi as well. But yeah, there's like this vibe of like baseball t-shirts, striped tube socks, and like just sort of like this rebel type energy, but kind of like in a rascal type way. So it's like, think like tattoo art styles, Vans, that kind of energy. I hope that's painting somewhat of a picture. Also, random small tangent once again, I do know I miss early eBay because girl, whenever I found out online shopping was a thing and I got my first debit card, I was so unhinged. Like, I would be ordering stuff from China for like only $2 to $5, and it was so convenient because even if it took a month to get there, it was so cheap and they had everything. Oh, old eBay, I miss you. But finally, for the last aesthetic and the chibi that I am working on right now, it's what I like to call the OG e-girl aesthetic. And you might be picking up that I seem like one of those people that likes to correct others on what exact aesthetic something is. Like, actually that's not very sub Y2K cottagecore cybergoth. But look, I don't know, it just bothers me sometimes when people get like something completely different than what it actually is. I don't know. Like, do your style homework a little bit more. And once, now that I said that, someone's gonna try to correct me, you know what, maybe we should all just play like that one Dress to Impress game. I don't know, I've never played it, but it looks kind of fun. Like, it looks right up my alley. But no, I call this the OG e-girl aesthetic because people acted like that was a term or like something that started in 2020, and that was the first time people put like hearts next to their eyes. I'm like, hello, did y'all not go through like the Marina and the Diamonds heart makeup phase? I don't know. But I heard the term e-girl back in like 2017, 2018. It was whenever I would play a lot of League and then watch streamers on Twitch a ton. And if I remember correctly, I could feel it came with a very negative connotation to it, no? Like, it was a stereotypical term for girls who only play support champions and they speak in this high, soft anime girl voice and have guys spend lots of money buying them things, which honestly, girl, you do you, get your bag. Like, I don't see a problem with that, to be honest. But I feel like it's kind of sad though, because girls and really just like being a woman in general, it's like you can't do anything naturally without being fit into some kind of box and criticized or made fun of. Like, there's nothing really wrong with actually being that way, but the amount of girls that were called that by primarily men, but also like pick-me type people, they were called that in like this condescending way, like, oh, she has no skills, people just watch her and play with her because they think that she's pretty or she has a nice body and they think that they have a chance with her. And like, that person that they're talking about will literally just be a girl who enjoys games or content creation, but because it can be a heavily toxic space, they get made fun of no matter what they do or how they approach things. And I just, oh, it's such a bad mentality. Oh my gosh, no. Who needs to get serious? Let's go back to the visual aesthetic of things. I guess I could also, like, in taking it out of the term e-girl, I can also see this as like an anime girl aesthetic too, because it's kind of like, I would always be wearing thigh highs and pleated skirts, and at this point it's officially a part of my branding, but at the time it'd be kind of like it would either be cutesy, quote-unquote feminine girly outfits versus like this intimidating, sharp, dark baddie type outfits. And I don't know if any of this is making sense, but this aesthetic definitely takes from like a lot of the cute Japanese fashion though, which I've always loved, especially since I was exposed to it whenever I was a kid, like through lots of manga that I read and all of that. But I think another part of it too was kind of me reclaiming my style and the things that I feel like it's okay for me to like. Because growing up, and I know a lot of people, especially girls, like felt this, where like growing up I was very tomboyish and I didn't want to give into that whole like, oh, I like girl cute doll stuff, I don't know, versus like now where I'm like, you know what, pink is actually a really great color and I love pink outfits, it's really cute and fun. That whole like reclamation, is that a word? Like reclaiming things? Yeah, it's very fun, and I also feel like that style kind of feeds a lot into my current style today, where it's like, honestly, I range from many different styles. It can be a little bit more on like the alternative side, or it could be a little bit more on like the girly, fun, playful side, but I feel like all of them, it's just fun to try out different aesthetics and not think too much about it, just have fun. And yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like talk all this entire time about the aesthetics. We're already towards the end of the video. I didn't get to say anything else really, but to recap, I just drew this as a fun, nostalgic flashback on some of the aesthetics that I've had in this past decade, since it was kind of the best I could do for like a birthday related video. And I mostly experimented with different brushes and styles. It was very fun experimenting with the rendering, especially, by the way. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with the spread, and I enjoyed the different chibi styles that I tried out, in both the actual style itself with the aesthetic and then also like just making them look a little bit different, and also like posing them, because I normally draw chibis like just standing there, so it was fun to like actually pose them and things like that. I think the emo, pop punk, and the e-girl chibis seem especially cute in the style. The default chibi style that I use is the first one, so like the tween core one, that's my go-to, but it might change after doing this sort of like fun little experiment exercise. I think drawing little backgrounds in there too was really fun. It made it feel like I was creating stickers almost. I'll try to use this spread as like inspiration whenever I move forward with this kind of approach, but as this is finishing up, I'm going to close this session out, and hopefully I'll be resting when this is actually uploaded, since it'll be my birthday then. Again, weird experience that I tend to overthink, so it's fun to just like do something fun and chill. So I've been filming and editing all throughout this week in hopes to catch up on some content lately, so stay tuned for that. But that pretty much concludes things. Let me know if any of those aesthetics were something you could relate to or enjoy, or if one of these chibi styles stood out to you specifically. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed your time here today, you can let me know by leaving a like. If you're interested to see more of my content, you can check out my other videos and subscribe. It'd be a nice birthday gift, just saying. Unless you're not watching this on my birthday, which is very likely actually. For reference, if you're new, I am Rhea or Etheria, and I like making art and art-related content on my channel. I do try to post weekly videos, but if you'd like more timely updates, you can always check out my other social media linked in the description or also at the end of the video. But until next time, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I wish you a nice rest of your day and or week. Take care.